What's your name? Lee?
Yes.
How are you? Puerto Rico.
We've been here for a while now because we're going through some legal.
We're being persecuted by the government because we're doing this over there. Last colony.
Paul called me on Sunday morning and invited me to come to your breakfast. I couldn't make it, I was nervous, tied up.
Paul with this?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, it was a good breakfast.
Yeah.
Except for I ran in the Vatican and
I'm actually committed every Sunday morning.
And the rest of us.
Yeah, we had one time. Well, spa day.
Yeah.
Huh?
Spa day was great.
Yeah, good.
Did you have one? I was just curious to see. We're going to
Like I said, yeah, I've been following her for years. Actually, we want to go up there and visit her.
This is the first TV I bought. That's what I got for her for years.
Right?
Yeah, listen, this coming season, Pollyanna, I'm gonna invite Vanessa.
Yeah.
I think, you know.
She'd love you.
Yeah, I see her once in a while, you know what I mean?
Yeah. With her boss. Oh, of course, yeah. Well, we've gone as far as saying that we live in a simulation, a video game. And we're surrounded by NPCs, not player characters.
Yeah. Come on the strap. So, yeah, Tom's an assemblyman strap.
It's a matter of opening up to that,
Tom
to
Wilson.
that frequency when you get to the point where you just kind of
I listen to this. I listen to this app. The game today's and I'm like, okay, I'm reading when I say I'm coming.
you know, when we go to the parking lot, we still listen to that Japanese car song. That's good.
We're listening to it out here.
Right, okay. This is camping place.
In touch. They have a thing that they'll drive and come
Yeah, we know exactly. Well, we have two federal cases. Yeah, because we're defending our right to traffic on private lanes. And it was fine for a while. We kept to ourselves doing it like 2 years ago. And she posted
T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming today. I'm Andrew Perosi, one of the recording secretaries for the New Jersey Assembly. I'd like to welcome you to the New Jersey Assembly County Tours. And we are in Burlington County today, which is my home county. A little history of Burlington County is Burlington County was the first county seated in New Jersey. And it's the largest county in New Jersey also. And it's a very diverse county. I'm fortunate enough to live here. And what we have to share with you today is a lot of good information about what the assemblies are doing in New Jersey and throughout the country. And I hope you will enjoy it, and maybe if you agree with our mindset that you'll join us and come along for a ride. And further our cause and help our country get back to our lawful government that we deserve, as the good Lord intended us to be free and to love one another with kindness and the malice towards none, right? And I'm just so fortunate to be in this assembly, in this movement, to restore our lawful government, to we the people. I'm one of the people. And I enjoy our work with all the people we met in this assembly so far. And the other day we were putting out flyers for this meeting today, and it was eye-opening about how much people, I mean, they want to gripe and groan about what's going on, but nobody wants to, toe the rope and help our country, get back the government we deserve. And they kind of can't get the idea of we are the government, we the people. We have to work together, one another, to help each other, and bear one another's burden, and to restore our local government the way it was supposed to be from our founding. And I think we've lost our way, and we're trying to, tell the people, here's the solution, and please, get involved with us so we can restore our local government, so we can live a free and righteous life again. With that, I'd like to introduce a couple of our other officers. We have Patisa Aringland, she's a recording secretary. And we have Kathy Aringland, a assistant treasurer. We have our marshal at arms, Dan Healy. And we have our chairman, Tammy Healy. So with that, I'd like to turn the meeting back over to Tammy Healy. Thanks, Tammy.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you all for coming out today. Like Andrew said, we are here to restore a lawful government, and some of you may have been hearing this information. I know, Lee, you had told me that you've been studying this for years, and Javier, I know that you guys also said that you were studying this for years as well. And so, our fiduciary is Anna Maria Reisinger. She goes by the pen name Anna von Reitz. She has been in this fight for many, many years. I mean, a good portion, over 30 years of her life, she has spent noticing the Pope, noticing the British, the royal crown, the British monarch. I mean, it's a monarchy now. It's not really even a king and queen. But she has been noticing them for many, many years. And so, and our fiduciary's late husband, James Clinton Belcher, his family lineage goes back to the original members of the Federation. And there were many other Federation family members that were still around today, but not many of them wanted to actually, or had the courage to step up and step out of being in hiding, because they went in hiding for many years. And so they began this journey of discovery, really, and noticing what we like to call the de facto government, right? Because it's the government that is in place when the real government is missing. And that is us, folks. We the people, that's us. And so we've been missing in action for long. I just want to say a great big apology to Anna. Sorry that it took me so long, Anna, to realize what has been going on with our country. I don't know why I'm getting choked up, but anyway, But we're here. We're here anyway, and we are doing the work. And we are calling all Americans to do the work with us. You know, we need everybody on board. It's not an easy task, but it's one that we wear with pride. You know, we wear that badge of honor. You know, we gave out many flyers, like Andrew said, and we sent many postcards. And it is sad. It's sad. You know, the people that we did meet, handing out flyers. You know, it's a different experience when you're handing people flyers. I had one lady say to me, "You're a year too late." We had people that said F Trump. There was many things, and you could tell that people are just angry and fed up. You know, honestly, they're fed up. And, you know, it makes people want to just say, you know, screw this, why do I bother, right? Or you get the other people that are, you know, being socially engineered and manipulated with, you know, the media that's on TV. And then we've got chaos, complete chaos. We've got Democrats versus Republicans, and they're fighting with each other. I see so many fights online with people, families destroyed, friendships destroyed, and I'm speaking from personal experience. I have family members that won't even talk to me because of what I'm doing. So it has not been an easy road, but nonetheless, it was a calling. And I'm sure those of you who are also doing this work, you know, you feel it in your hearts that it's a calling. Because I can tell you that nobody would want to live where your family doesn't talk to you, your friends don't talk to you. So, excuse me, it's been a rough road. But nonetheless, one that we will, you know, go on and keep on going. You know, there's really no other way. You know, we the people, we had founders that created this. They shed blood on our behalf. And so lost lives, lost their fortunes, lost their families. And so I ask all of you today, what are you willing to sacrifice? Seriously, we live in a world where we have so much privileges. I mean, so many privileges. And we're here today, you know, we live with so much abundance, but what are you willing to sacrifice for that freedom? Really? Can you give up watching TV for a few hours at night to learn? Can you, you know, maybe give up a weekend that, you know, or a vacation away and save the money and put it towards this purpose? How many people are willing to do that out there anymore? You know? So, all right, before we get into this presentation, I do have a presentation for you, and we are on tour. We will be touring the entire state. We are going county to county. And we are introducing our state assembly members. A lot of them are not here. We have a couple of coordinators that are not here, and an ombudsman who's not here today. But certainly they have their purpose and you know, serve anyway. So I do want to recognize Alice DeBlasky, our coordinator, Priscilla Miller, one of our coordinators, and Elena Harros, our ombudsman. And then I am going to do a presentation because we do have to explain the fraud. You know, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and you know that you hear the truth when the person that is giving you the truth is under huge amounts of attack. That's when you know that you're on the target, okay? And so for me, when I was introduced to Anna, the guy that was introducing me the information, I thought he was crazy, and I walked away. But after a while, I kept hearing it over and over and thought, this is something that I really do need to investigate. And so I started diving into it. And then when I was introduced to Anna, it was actually this book right here. You know something is wrong when, an affidavit of probable cause. And if you don't have it, I really highly recommend you get it. But I started reading that book, and I was highly confused, but I thought, well, who the hell is this old lady, and how can I know that I can trust her? So I went on my own exploration and found other books to basically back up what she was saying, and then I went back to her books, started reading them, and I was like, yeah, this lady is telling, she's telling the truth. And then when I got to hear some of her interviews and join some of her meetings, the lady lives a very humble life. She doesn't live a life of luxury because she took all the money that her and her husband made all throughout the years in their professions, and they put it towards this cause. She asks for donations every week to keep this movement going. And so I would humbly ask you to also give. You can send money to her through the TASA website. We'll show that up on the screen in a little bit. But when somebody lives with humbleness and they're living on very little means, you know that she's got nothing to lose. And so anyway, that was my journey of how I got here, and why I'm thankful for those who have already corrected their status and are here along with me. I am the chairman. I serve pro tem, by the way, so it's a temporary position until we actually have our formal elections. We are hoping to have them by the end of the year. We're hoping that after doing these tours that we'll get more and more people on board and more people stepping up and actually serving the government, because that's what we're supposed to do. That's our duty, guys.
How many is it 15 that you need total that have corrected their statuses to be able to
Have the election.
have the elections?
We have to actually have all the positions on the generals, on the 4 pillars.
Okay.
There's 4 pillars and we'll get into that in a little bit. But anyway, I'd like to read this. Let me say this. Give me a second here. So I serve as the chairman pro tem, and basically I'm the speaker. We have no hierarchy in this government. Okay, we all have equal voices. We're all called to treat each other with love and respect. Now, how often do you see politicians on the news treating each other with love and respect? Okay, all we see is slander and corruption and chaos. Honestly, it's a clown show. I call it a clown show. Anyway, anybody here, just by a raise of hands, anybody here that works for the local government? Maybe it's the municipality. Okay, and what do you do for the local government?
I work for New Jersey Turnpike.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
So transportation, like, is it the
Turnpike? That's the NJTA. Now I work for the Turnpike and the highway.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we say
Education.
yes, yeah. So we have an educator. All right. So this slide right here is the Bivens Declaration. And it's from a court case in 1971. It was Bivens versus 6 unknown agents. Okay, so and this court case was to protect any federal or municipal agents that show up to our meetings, that they could be put in a precarious situation where somebody may ask them to be a witness of something that was said here. And so this is basically protecting them and us. So they can't take what we're saying out of context. And I'm just going to read it so you guys can understand it. So this meeting is private. Bearing false witness and misrepresentation and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflict and false allegations, is there anyone in attendance that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency or public agency of the federal, state, city, county, or townships present? Is there any response to the Bivens decision for the first time? And I know you gentlemen had already just told us you were. Is there one for a second time? For the third and final time? Anyone who's here on false pretenses, anyone who is working for any foreign government, including the territorial United States, municipal United States, or anyone who is being paid or coerced to be here, must fully disclose their presence and purpose or leave this the building now, or this meeting now. If you subsequently show up as federal witnesses, you will be discredited for failure to disclose. And have you now or have you ever received money or personal support of any kind from the intelligence community? Upon no response to this notice of the Bivens Declaration, this presentation now proceed. Great. Okay, so yes, we are restoring our lawful American government from 1776. So I have many people that ask me, you know, why is your organization the organization? There's a bunch of assemblies that are popping up all over the place. The Reign of Heavens, you know, the Americans Assemblies. There's so many other organizations. And my response to that is you have to do your due diligence. You have to look at all the information, see where it's coming from. And from what I can tell, I think that there's two reasons why these different organizations are popping up outside of ours. And it's either ego, because people want to be the heroes. They want their face, their name, and the recognition that they were the ones that saved America. Or they are infiltrators, and they are trying to give out misinformation to misguide and mislead people down a different path. Because ultimately, getting our American government standing is their worst nightmare. Okay, so they're going to pull all the tricks out to get us from assembling again and being a lawful government. But we are the New Jersey Assembly. And when I say the, I mean with a capital T, indefinite article, the one and only New Jersey Assembly. And we are a member of the Federation of States, okay? And so we are assembled and calling all men and women to come back home to the land and soil and help us. You know, free yourselves from slavery. That's what we're doing here. All right, so why a public notice? Well, the international public notice is to inform you that the foreign United States government has criminally converted your political status from an American to that of a foreign citizen. So this is the history of the fraud. And I will say, please feel free to take snapshots of the slides, or you know, if you can get your cameras out and you can scan the QR code, there is some detailed research that goes behind this. And so, you know, don't take my word for anything that we're saying here today. Go and do your research. We've provided some links to do your own research, but dig deep. You know, I know for me, when I was first learning about this, I had no idea about jurisdictions. And what the hell is a jurisdiction? I didn't even, you know that. I only thought that that was something that law enforcement agencies had to deal with. So the history has been intentionally kept out of our history books and completely removed from the public school system since 1974. Your birthright as an American is to live in peace and abundance, which includes a public inheritance and a private inheritance. We Americans are all sovereigns in our own right because of one man, William Belcher. Or we could, if you're French, you could say Belcher. William inherited sovereignty in his own right from William the Conqueror in 1087 AD, and you have inherited that same right from him. This special form of sovereignty attaches to everyone born on the land and soil of this country. Unknown to you, you have inherited both private and public sovereignty. Sovereignty in your own right. It grants absolute control over your own body and property and nobody else's. So that means that nobody can force you to do any kind of a medical procedure without your consent. We fought and gained our public sovereignty as a country and nation when we won the Revolutionary War. So we are a sovereign country governed by sovereign people. We remember this in history class as a government for, of, and by the people. Right? So the definition of sovereignty: a chief ruler with supreme power, one possessing sovereignty. It is also applied to a king or other magistrate with limited powers. 2, in the United States, the sovereignty resides in the body of the people. nationality, okay, because we call ourselves American state nationals. And, you know, what does that mean? So if you're born on New Jersey, you're a New Jerseyan. That's your nationality. If you were born on New York, you're a New Yorker. I was born on Connecticut, so I'm a Connecticuter. You know, try to say that 3 times fast. So the definition of nationality is the state of a person in relation to the nation in which he was born. If you were born on one of the 50 states, you take your nationality from that state. Many nations can occupy the same land and soil, and that is the situation here in America. A member of the Winnebago Ho-Chunka Nation, born in Black River Falls, Wisconsin, has an automatic dual nationality status as both a Winnebago and as a Wisconsinite. They inherit their individual sovereignty from William Belcher, like any other American born on this land and soil, as their birthright political status. And they maintain their Winnebago identity as part of the Ho-Chunka Nation too, being their cultural heritage. Citizenship, the definition. Most of us believe that the word citizen means a man or woman that lives in the country. However, that is not the case. The word citizen means a man or woman who gives their allegiance to and works for a government. Synonyms for citizen: employee, officer, subject, slave, and indentured servant. There are 4 different possible citizenships in the United States: American state citizen, United States citizen, U.S. citizen, and citizen of the United States. Each of these prospectively serve different jurisdictions, but we were never informed about any of this. Okay, I'm gonna just pause here for a second and just talk a little bit about American state citizen. So when you correct your political status, you are an American state national, period. That's what we call a sovereign. Okay, a sovereign owes no allegiance to any superiority except for their creator. Okay, and if you read the Declaration of Independence, it says we have our rights are unalienable and are endowed to us by our creator. Okay, that's our founding document, by the way, is the Declaration of Independence. And if you go back and actually read through that document, it'll all start to make sense. But an American state citizen is somebody like myself, our marshal at arms, our recording secretaries. They are elected positions on our state assemblies that are now giving our allegiance, and we are employed, we're giving our service to our government, our American government. Okay? Now, in my private capacity, I'm still an American state national. But when I'm here representing and doing the work for the people, I'm a servant. I'm a servant to the people. And so that's why I am an American state citizen. Okay? So the colonists and some of the native nations fought together to gain America's independence from several tyrannical kings. The last American war was the War of 1812, and we have not waged war on anyone since then. Native nations have been abused by the foreign United States government, who are our subcontractors. Like all the rest of us, this is not the doing or fault of the actual state, Wisconsin, nor is it the fault of the Ho-Chunka Nation either. Many of the Eastern Seaboard Native nations, like the Lenape and the Delawares, had treaties with King George prior to the Revolution and were not honored. This is because King George lost the Revolutionary War and skipped town without mentioning that he owed them a settlement in gold for not being able to keep his treaty agreements. The Western native nations, except in California, generally speaking, hadn't been involved in much contact or conflict with the colonists or the kings prior to the so-called Civil War. Unfortunately, the so-called Civil War began the era when the British territorial U.S. Army, operating as the Bluecoats, caused so much devastation and it led to the creation of the reservation system. Everyone concerned was violently defrauded, first by the king avoiding his treaty obligations to the eastern native nations, and later by the British territorial U.S. Army running rampant over the western native nations. They can see why they wanted to keep this little piece of American history out of our school books, right? So your inheritance. Each one of us is owed money and prepaid credit. We and our ancestors earned, but were never credited for and never paid. This money is coming back to us because we and our parents and grandparents have been charged taxes, mortgages, fees, fines, and etc. that we never owed, and because the fiat money system was mismanaged in a way that has resulted in a large excess of prepaid credit owed back to each one of us, the money and credit needs to be returned to each and every one of us. All right, understanding the difference, okay? Although often confused, we are the priority creditors and our federal subcontractors are the debtors. They are supposed to be operating on our credit that we've loaned them, okay? So if you could think of a ledger system, right? Like I know for me, growing up in high school, I took accounting. I know maybe some of you also have. And we learned how to keep debits and credits. One was the negative side and one was the positive side of the account. And at the end, it all balanced together. So the credit is the positive side of the accounting books. Every time you provide a service or a good that contributes to the positive side of the ledger, this is what we now know to be the national credit. The debt, the negative side of the accounting books, every time you use a Federal Reserve note, also known as an IOU, to pay for services or goods, you contribute to the negative side of the ledger. This is what we know to be the national debt. Okay, so all we see on TV is that we've got $39 trillion in national debt. Well, people, they put your focus so much on the debt, and then they make you feel so worn down, like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, that you owe all this money in debt. How are we ever going to get out of this debt? Well, they forgot to show you the opposite side of the accounting ledger, which is the credit side. And that's what's owed to us. Because when you provide a service and somebody pays you with an IOU, the service is on the ledger here, and then the debt note is over here. So they keep going up together, but we never get to see the credit side of that ledger. So we are owed prepaid credit. I'm going to get into the family trusts now, and this is something that you all can go and do your own research on this. But we have the D'Avila Family Trust, the St. Germain Family Trust, and the B.K. Durham Trust. Okay, so in addition, there are giant family trusts like these three that's worth over 300 dodecalon. Okay, that's way too many zeros for me to count. Along with the St. Germain Family Trust and the B.K. Durham Trust, plus over 5,000 more, which were largely gifted to all peoples of the world. For example, the D'Avila family or family funds are a bequest for a special purpose, to break the chains of poverty and ignorance. This goal has been the same since 1520 AD, but dishonest trustees and wars and other things have prevented deployment of the funds for this specific purpose. The Avila Family Trust indenture hasn't been honored in over 500 years. But it's time the funds are released. These are the public and private inheritances that you don't know you have. And I'm just going to pause there for a second. And so this is why they've kept us in a perpetual state of war. They don't want these funds released because that's one of the requirements, that we have to be in a certain amount of time, like 120 days, I believe it is, without any wars in order for those funds to be released. And we have deceptive people that have been the trustees of these funds. Okay, Andrew, you had a question?
Terry, can you go back to that previous slide?
Yep.
So you're saying these are the trust funds that we are owed
And that's where we get our,
No, this is in addition to.
in addition.
Yeah, these are in addition to. These are the family trusts that were gifted to us going back 500 years ago. But because evil men and women have been mismanaging, they've been the trustees.
Right.
And it's no different than what we see with our government, right? We have people that we entrust to represent us and to do the will that we want them to do, but then turn around and do, vote something different. It's no different. It's really no different. But these are family trusts that were bequests to us, and they have been on hold. Okay, so why were you not told? Well, gee, there's a hard one for you to figure out, right? A 160-year-old criminal fraud scheme against you is still in progress, and that's why most of you don't know this. The criminal bankers who didn't return your money and credit, in collusion with the foreign United States government, are both standing in the way of these family trusts being deployed worldwide. Not just in our country, but worldwide. Clean, abundant water is being delayed. Good organic food for everyone is being delayed. The end of paying taxes is being delayed. Universal access to sanitation, housing, education, medical care, and technology are being delayed. All this and more are being delayed by criminal government agencies and banks that have no rightful control or ownership interest in the money. And we call that robbery and crimes against humanity. The Department of the Global Federal Reserve in Switzerland was supposed to sit down and negotiate the return and release of this gift money in 2005. They never came to the table. They know who their rightful heir is. They chose to ignore him. They stole these funds for the corporations and have misused them to promote war and misery for the past 20 years. And all this has to stop. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to educate the public and bring it to light, because this has all been done in the dark without our knowledge of it. And so when people learn of this and understand what's happening, it's going to put pressure on them. We're already seeing things in the news where, I don't know, Governor, who's the Florida governor?
Ron
DeSantis, right? Ron DeSantis is already stopping property taxes, right? So all of these things are starting to come to light. Of course, Ron DeSantis is going to look like he's some hero when actually he's just doing what the American people are telling him to do. But this is how they operate. All right, let's get into a little bit of our American flags. At our last tour, we had our American flag here. Unfortunately, we forgot to bring it. But you see some of them on the walls there and in the graphics on the slide. The one to the left is our peacetime flag. We actually have two flags, and every country has two flags. The purpose of a flag isn't just to show your patriotism. It's to show whether you're in peace or whether you're at war, which makes a lot of sense, because our wartime flag, which is Old Glory, we've been in a perpetual state of war. So that's all we're going to see. But I will encourage you all that if you are flying the wartime flag on your house, take that down. Take it down, because unless you're at war with something, are you at war or are you at peace? And so I would encourage you to put your peacetime flag up, because not only does it show that you're in peace, but it also shows your jurisdiction. Lee, you had a question?
Oh, I heard that I understand. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong. When you're flying the wartime flag, if there's any sort of army insurgents, that gives them the indication that they can take over your house.
Yes, that's
Just
exactly right.
FYI.
Right. Which is another reason why you want to fly a peacetime flag on your house.
So, and they all know. No, a lot of people don't. But you're enabling that trespass because you're flying that flag.
Right. Unbeknownst to you, you're flying it because you're just showing that you're a patriot, right? And that you love your country.
So that's accurate information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Birth registrations, all right? There's also a QR code up there if you guys want to snap a shot of that. Americans don't live under a constitution as citizens. Rather, we live by the Declaration of Independence as sovereigns. As we learned previously, the word citizen can mean employee, officer, subject, slave, and indentured servant. You were born a free man or woman with unalienable rights, but you were made into a bondage servant, then later into a slave by 2 birth registrations. When you register the birth of your child by signing a birth certificate, you are actually converting the political status of your child into that of a federal citizen. Which is why, by the way, and the birth certificate is actually a bond and puts the child into bondage. The U.S. government is responsible for these birth certificates. And if you think about it, this is why CPS can show up at your house. This is why, I can remember years ago when I got information about a family whose son or daughter got diagnosed with cancer. And they were naturopathic family that wanted to do an alternative route. The authorities came in and kidnapped their child and forced them to take the chemotherapy. And I remember saying, how is that possible? How is that possible? Well, now I know, because if they had a birth certificate, then their child is a ward of the state. And the state then has every right to come in and make decisions because they deem the parents to be incompetent. Yes, Javier?
Quick anecdote, I know a man named Carl Lentz. He's a constitutional lawyer, and they did the same thing to him, but it was because he refused to get the birth certificate or social security number because he was aware of all this going on. And the state came in and took his child for 6 years.
Yes, and so, this is a really great point. So, and I want to hone in on this pretty hard for everybody. So our paperwork process, if you read it, it's very bulletproof, so to speak, okay? We call it putting the full armor on, okay? Because we have former attorneys that ripped up their bar cards and became actual lawyers, counselors of law, and they're a part of the living law firm who created our documents for us, which is why if somebody comes into our organization and say, oh, well, I already corrected my status through another process, we say, well, that doesn't matter. You've got to do it this way. Well, I paid $2,000 to have this done. Well, I'm sorry that you got scammed out of that, but we only charge $50 to record your documents. That's it. And so we make them go through our process because the wording in it is so very important. Yes, go ahead.
A lot of people are saying now that ICE is here, they're all taking their birth certificates with them because they don't know if ICE is going to attack them or not.
Members of ISIS, is that what you said?
ICE.
Oh, ICE. They're doing what?
They're coming in here and taking, they're at Glasgow State College already. Well, it's called Raleigh. They're on the road campus and they're, taking people that don't belong there and send them back home. And they're going to the schools and the district, different school districts, and they're doing the same thing there. And the kids are running home and they're scared to go to school. And people are taking their birth certificates with them. So in case they get stopped by ICE,
they can
show
prove. Yeah. Well, ICE is actually tasked to get rid of the illegal immigrants that were flooding in over the borders illegally, right? And we have cause to believe that they're doing that for nefarious reasons. And there's a process for people to come into our country. And we want them, if they're coming in as immigrants, we want them to come here lawfully. We do understand that, there's certain countries that they're running away from tyranny in their country, and so we empathize with that. But if we don't secure our borders, we don't have a country, right? And so I don't think that it's proper for ICE to go into an elementary school with children and terrify them, because then that's a domestic terrorist. But I do think it's appropriate for them to do their job and remove anybody that's not supposed to be here, because I do believe that there are evil people that are coming into our country to do us harm. All right, so the constitutions are contracts. The Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the United States, these constitutions are contracts that we have with two corporations, the USA Inc., they work for us, and the US Inc. works for us. The United States government services corporations are our subcontractors. And we Americans, our American government, are literally their employers. We are their employers. So, we have to flip the switch and stop. We've been living our whole lives in fear of a government and feeling like we are supposed to obey them when it's supposed to be the other way around. They are supposed to obey us. Those Adila trust funds that were presented previously, they are fully funded government services for everybody. No more taxation was required or even needed for public services since 1941. All taxes since then went toward war reparations and as gifts to the British monarch and the Pope, which they extorted as gift and estate taxes that you never owed. So when you pay property taxes and you pay income taxes, 60% goes to the Pope and 40% goes to the British monarch. They created this system together where they partnered up to hoist this scheme onto us. And so that's how they divvied it up. And I would encourage you, I tried to encourage people in my town, before I got involved in the state nationals, and I was still a US citizen, I knew that they had double accounting books. Because if I were to add up the amount of taxes that we paid on our property, and I went around to just the 5 houses on my street, it would have been over $100,000 in property taxes. And then when you start adding up all the other properties that were bigger than mine, or even maybe smaller than mine, or maybe that had a lakefront or whatever, and you started doing the math, and then you started seeing what they were saying that they needed money for the schools or whatever else, it wouldn't add up. Yep. But nobody wanted to do their due diligence to do that, because it would require us to pull up the tax records and go street by street looking up all the tax records and trying to add it all up. But if anybody out there who had the motivation to do that, I'm sure you'll find that the amount of taxes that your town or city is collecting, it would surpass the amount of money that they say that they're spending.
That's why they have those CAFR reports.
Have you heard of the CAFR?
The what?
The Comprehensive Annual Financial Reports. That's the actual money that the counties and the states have.
Yes.
But they won't tell the people. They'll tell you about the budget.
Oh, yes.
And they say, oh, we're in deficit. That's not true. Because like you're saying, they take your property taxes and all these taxes they collect, they invest it in Wall Street, and then they take the proceeds from that and they keep it in this other account, the CAFR, Comprehensive and Annual Financial Reports.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many offshoot organizations like that they're hiding and laundering the money, that it makes it, that we don't know about. It makes it hard for us.
Those are public records. Anyone can ask for them. Hey, I want to see and they have to give it to you through the FOIA.
And you can just take that next to like the municipal budget.
Yep.
That they.
Yep.
Right.
And
if anybody wanted to do that due diligence and back it up with doing the property taxes, I mean, that's another way to see, hey, like what is really going on here.
Maybe AI can do it. Put it to work.
So World War II forced the world to rebuild. So instead of relieving you from taxes, the Avila funds were diverted into the Marshall Plan and other efforts. These funds were loaned out for this purpose for 50 years and were supposed to have been repaid in 1995. But the due date came and went. The banks asked for and were granted a 10-year extension with settlement due in 2005, but again, the date came and went too. Yes.
Do you have a source where, like I could read about this?
You're not going to find it on the internet, but if you go to AnnaVonRights.com, she reports all of this. If you look up, Avila, the D Avila, or Saint Germain. You'll get a lot of, I did find some stuff online about the Saint Germain, and also if you have access to internet in like India or England or all these than we do about our, you get more information over there if you have the ability
Because
to do
I
that.
was trying to access, I wasn't using a VPN, and I was trying to access the saintgermainsomething.org.
Yeah, I was able to come up with some information on Saint Germain Trust.
Oh, okay.
If you're on the regular Google, you're not, yes, like he says, it's blocked, but if you try Tor, I don't know if
Okay.
you're familiar with Tor, I've been able to find a lot of information. If you go to archive.org,
Yeah.
you'll be able to find
Yeah,
something.
archive.org is a
Yeah.
good resource.
Thank you. I don't mean to interrupt, but I
No.
interrupt like 75 times, so I'm
That's okay.
be quiet.
So we began hearing rumors in 2022 about global project funding from the US military. They didn't tell you that this is where that funding was coming from, and that they were robbing the heir of the trust and ignoring the trust indenture again. The funds are not coming from the World Bank, not the Global Debt Facility, not any global collateral accounts, not from NESARA or GESARA, not from the World Trust, which was set up and provided by the family of our fiduciary for the United States of America unincorporated, and they have bungled that beyond belief too. This is the US military's way of sneaking in the back door, don't let them know I stole it in the first place, criminal attempt to put the money back. Yet they still continue to exercise non-consensual control over funds that don't belong to them. We told them no, nowhere in your service contracts are you granted fiduciary authority to access any funds on our behalf. And I just want to pause here just for a quick second too, is that because we're not trying to diss our military, and I'm talking about the fine men and women that actually volunteer and serve this country for pennies. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of money that they're paid. Because they had no idea that they were signing up to be mercenaries. They really, and they nobly stood up to be a part of the military to serve and protect us. This is referring to all of the people at the top, the generals that know better. And I say this because going back to the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln surrendered and put us under martial law, under the U.S. Army. So this is why we have been under military occupation since then, and why these shenanigans are still going on with the Army.
Sorry to interrupt. Quick anecdote. I did 23 years in the Coast Guard, and it's incredible. It's already, like you said, you get blowback from your family, whatever, they don't want to talk to you. But when they see my profile and they see that, because I don't hide anything, but I was 23 years in the Coast Guard, I said, so now you're speaking against the government? And I'm like, yeah, I woke up.
Yeah,
So,
and there's many of you that have worked
Yeah.
in for the military and are now, I think when you're even serving in the military, you realize that, yeah, something's just not right here. I've heard this from many people that have served, that are awake anyway. Yeah.
Duped. We've all been duped.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've all been duped.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to, you're going to go through a period where, it's a grieving process, right? I know I was super angry and sad, and then finally I got to the point where I accepted it, and then it's like, all right, now that you can accept it, now you're going to do something about it, right? Because we don't, as Americans, we don't live a victimhood mentality, right? We're not victims. It's like, all right, we know what's going on, so now we're going to do something. All right, legal yet criminal. These service providers are acting in continual breach of contract, have authorized other criminal and fraudulent legal activities too. How can it both be criminal yet legal at the same time? Let's identify a few of these criminal yet legal activities to help you better comprehend what they are doing. So safekeeping / safe giving. When you make a bank deposit, you think you are putting your money into a bank for safekeeping, but no, you are legally, although unknowingly, giving your money to the bank for safe having, okay? And I know this for I recognize this when I made a purchase with my debit card, and it's coming right out of my bank account, right? It immediately, snap, wow, that's magic, right? But when I go to return it, they tell me it's going to take 5 to 10 business days. What are you doing with my, why is it not snap like this?
Yep.
So they're taking it and they're trading it. They're taking your money and trading it and making money for themselves. Okay? That's how that works. So their money or yours. Your money is now theirs. Every time you make a bank deposit, they can now legally use it for all of their so-called lending that they claim to be doing with their money. They claim that it's theirs.
It's not even yours anymore. We can give it to them.
Yeah.
Well, they're either stealing it in the bank, and using it to, trade on the stock market and enrich themselves, or they're taxing you or giving you some kind of fines or fees, and that's how they're making money.
And it's not money anyway.
Right.
It's a Federal Reserve note.
Right. So not to mention that those Federal Reserve notes are not even money at all. Another criminally legalized racket they authorized. A Federal Reserve note is a promissory note that is an IOU, and because there is no due date and no specific form of repayment dated on it, it's not a negotiable instrument at all. Yet you have been forced to use it as money in exchange for goods and services, and we wonder why we have inflation. The next criminal but legal truth, our honorable American soldiery were turned into a paid foreign mercenary force. The War of 1812 was the last legitimately declared war. All wars following that, including the so-called Civil War, were and are not properly declared wars, just part of a saga of continual mercenary conflicts, i.e. wars for profit. And yes, that means that the U.S. military is both criminal and legal. American military versus the U.S. military. Wars for profit, i.e. mercenary conflicts, are when presidents or CEOs of commercial corporations like the United States of America Incorporated hire trained soldiers to steal, kill, maim as they devastate communities and economies for commercial gain. Can anyone tell me what those ancient artifacts that the military were ordered to confiscate on their first missions in the Iraqi war have to do with protecting America's freedom? Nothing. Our soldiers need to read some real American history to learn what wars for profit really are. This includes wars since 1815, the World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Desert Storm, Afghanistan, Iraqi War, Libya, Yemen, Niger, Somali operation this and operation that, the war on this and the war on that. I mean, war on drugs, the war on
Poverty.
Yeah, poverty. But what's a more recent? Oh, the war on COVID, right?
And those are the ones we know about. I mean,
yes.
Black Ops. We don't
Yes,
know how many
and
Black
there's
Ops are out there.
there's a ton of attacks that are happening with drones.
Yep.
That we don't even know about or hear about.
Some of these wars to make more money too.
That's exactly right. So America has declared peace, and if you scan the QR code, it'll take you to our peace proclamation. We have declared peace. And it's been declared across the land since 2017, and we have raised our peace flag for the first time in over 200 years. America has been at peace since 1815. It's the federal subcontractors, the USA Inc. and the US Inc. that have been the ones at war or in continual commercial conflict. And Anna has reviewed this on some of her most recent Monday night webinars and other podcasts that she does. And she's put out international notices letting Iran know that it's not America that is declaring war with them, that it's our federal subcontractors running amok, and they are misusing our Title IV flag. And this is the reason why other countries hate us. I mean, think about it. We're going into their country, invading their country. We're telling our country, they're telling our country, oh, we have to, liberate them from their tyrannical leader. And really what they're doing is they're going in there, they're taking over a country, and then they're stealing their natural resources, their oil or whatever else, lithium, whatever resources that country has. They're raping them and pillaging them, and then leaving that country in poverty.
Then they can get a loan from the World Bank, which is like another.
Yeah, the IMF,
But
the
may
World
I
Bank.
ask you, like, who's reading the peace proclamation? Do you know, like, who knows?
We have
that
sent it to them.
exists.
But here's the
Who's
thing,
paying attention
what
in
we
the
are,
world?
what we have been conditioned to think and how we operate is we are waiting for some superior people to recognize this peace proclamation. It's not going to happen. If that's what you think is going to happen, that's not going to happen. What needs to happen and what is happening is that people are now starting to operate their lawful American government. And when we have more people that are doing this, the tables are then going to turn.
I mean, because
That's how it's going to happen. And so everybody that is sitting, at home watching this live, if you're sitting on your couch and you're waiting for Trump to free you from your enslavement, you've got to wake up. Go take an ice bath or something and wake up.
It's because people have forgotten that we're not supposed to be in a democracy. This is what happens when you have democracy. They forgot what a republic is, and that's what it is. It's government from the bottom up.
That's exactly right.
Doing what we're doing here.
And
we're
now
taking action.
that you mentioned that's a beautiful topic, is that America was never a democracy. If you go back to all the founding documents, never once does it mention democracy in there.
That's right.
Okay? A democracy is a hierarchical structure, okay, where you have a king or the queen at the top, or, like we say, the president, right? And the only reason why Donald Trump is writing out executive orders is because he's a president of a corporation. Corporations can make executive orders. A lawful government does not operate by executive order. It has to come from the people. The Congress has to approve it, and it has to have 2/3 of the vote. He never declared a war, and it was never approved by Congress, so that again should be an eye-opener for people. Okay? Why is he able to get away with this? Why was he able to do a war without Congress approving it? Well, because he's a corporation, and they have run amok. Whether it's Donald Trump, Joe Biden, sleepy Joe Biden, or George W. Bush, or Obama, whoever the president was, they're not a president of the people. They're a president of a corporation. All right, federal income taxes you don't owe. Okay, so if you scan the QR code there, it'll take you to some more information. And I have some codes here, but another criminal yet legal truth is a vast majority of taxpayers are volunteering. You're volunteering, and it says so. It's voluntary compliance. If you are paying federal income taxes and are not a federal employee, then you are literally volunteering. If you don't work for and receive a check from the federal subcontractors, you probably have no federal income to tax. Were you told that the income tax payments are gifts that you are giving to the U.S. government? They say it right there in their own legal tax codes at 31 U.S.C. 321 D1 and D2. It states the federal income tax are gifts and estate taxes, which you are giving away. Remember, previously all the government expenses were paid for as of 1941. Every fire hydrant, every school, every airplane, and every expense for government services or infrastructure throughout the entire planet was paid for as of 1941. CFR 601-602A, third line down, says the tax system is based on voluntary compliance.
Can I share something else you might want to do research on? Title 26, subsection 7806. That's the construction of the whole title, which deals with the IRS, and it says it has no legal effect, no lawful effect.
Yes. They're a third-party subcontractor, for hired to make money, to basically steal money from you with our armed robbery, armed thugs.
It was never a positive law, doesn't have a enabling clause or anything. So.
Right. And let's just even back it up further. So The 14th Amendment was never fully ratified.
That's right.
So therefore, all of the amendments thereafter are null and void.
Yeah.
Latching is illegal. Your money, your national defense, your labor, just to name a few, have all been latched upon by criminal foreign government service providers. Latching is illegal and always has been, but pretending to have a custodial trust interest, they got away with it. So, and this is the point that I'd like to really nail this down, is that if you don't correct your political status and you don't rebut that birth certificate, they're managing your trusts for you. They created a trust to put all your assets, your identity, your name, your land, everything. If you have any progeny, they put your progeny in there too. I mean, you have to claim everything back.
The trust, they also, like, anytime you attend, like, if you get a high degree when you go to college, it all gets, like, your trust indenture gets increased for everything you attain.
Yeah, accomplish. Yeah, you're rising on that ladder.
Exactly.
And I believe, Lee, that when they actually do those school exams, you know, when they take those, you know, what do they call that? Well, no, even in just like the elementary schools, like when they do the yearly.
The FCATs.
Right.
Yes.
FCATs.
What do you call them?
State exam.
Yes, thank you. The state exams. And they give your kid, you know, when my kid, I mean, my one daughter got like a perfect score in math. I mean, she's really brilliant in math.
That's how they find.
But then they're finding, oh, these are going to be the ones that are going to really rise to the top. They're going to go to Harvard. And my son got invitations to apply for Harvard.
Right, and I mean, there's that program that they run for like the gifted.
Right,
Oh yeah,
scholars.
gifted and talented. My children were in gifted and talented.
And I mean, I think those are recruiting
Yes,
agencies.
that's exactly
for,
right. They're
you know,
seeing who are we
smart,
gonna make
and
the
we wanna
most money
take
off
them.
of? That's really what it means.
And they take them into their system
Yes,
because
exactly.
they want smart people.
So why have they done this? For two primary reasons: to pay off their corporations' commercial debts and to fund their criminal yet legal activities. That's why we have Black Ops, DARPA, you know, funding all these evil projects. It would be as if I impersonated one of you, committed credit fraud to get access to your credit and paid off my house, my Lamborghini loans. Wouldn't you be pissed off at that? But this is exactly what your employees have done to you. So what are you going to do about it? Okay, marches and protests are for U.S. citizens. Declarations and assembling are for sovereigns. Okay, when I was a U.S. citizen, I protested. I went to the state capitol and I was begging my slave masters for my freedom. And then it dawned on me one day and I said, well, wait a minute. I think my founders already gave me the freedom. Why am I begging people? Things started to click, you know, and this is what we have to wake up to. You must first know who you are. U.S. citizen, United States citizen, citizen of the United States, U.S. national, American state national, American state citizen. Have you forfeited your birthrights as an American state national? Well, if you have a birth certificate, you have a driver's license, social security card, I mean, all these things. Did you sign your kids up? Did you register them for school? I mean, all these things that you registered, you gave your property away. You gave it away for them to manage and you know.
I think they're called adhesion contracts.
Yep. Unilateral adhesion contracts.
Yep.
So a resurgence is underway, okay? Little by little, one man, one woman at a time, we are getting people back to the land and soil and rescuing them, okay? So not a reformation, as the foundation is already there, not a reconstruction, as that should have happened already, but didn't, not a restoration, as that is already happening, but even more than that, a resurgence. Our organic 1776 Union states constructed under our national government, calling it the United States, being later changed to the capital T, the United States, in 1851. Then they constructed our international government, calling it the United States of America, an unincorporated federation of states. So that seal right there is our seal, and we know that our foreign federal subcontractors are using our seal, but the difference is they've got a circle around it.
Mhm.
Do you know what that circle represents?
Capture, that's, or like,
Delegated, and actually that's on the last, I'm getting ahead of myself here. It's
Interesting.
delegated authority,
Wow.
okay? Just like when we gave them our Title IV flag to put on the buildings when they're, performing delegated services for us, but now they're using it for war. But so the one without the circle, that's us. That means a sovereign, undelegated power. One with the circle around it is they're operating with delegated authority.
It's a seal
I
that
was-
they put on the certified
Yeah.
copies of the.
I was happy to see that the uncircled one is on our passport. I looked at it last night. I was like, is there a circle or not?
And both flags belong to us. The bottom one is a Title IV military flag. And here's another example of more subcontractor abuse of delegated powers because we did not authorize them to instigate commercial conflicts, i.e. wars for profit all across the globe in our name. And so this is why, again, why other countries don't like America or Americans. We have to wake up. The contracts are known as constitutions. If you actually look up the word constitution, or if you actually look up the word federal in an 1824 Webster's dictionary, it will tell you it means contract. It's just another word for contract. It's basically a synonym. Okay, our American government contracted with one American subcontractor and two foreign subcontractors, the British monarch and the Roman papacy, done under 3 separate constitutions. The American contract is called the Constitution for the United lowercase u States of America. That was drafted in 1787. It delegated limited authority to the American federal government service provider as a federal republic. The British contract is called the Constitution of the United States, capital U, States of America. In 1789, it delegated limited authority to the British territorial government service provider as a territorial democracy. The Roman contract is called the Constitution of the United States of 1790. It delegated limited authority to the Roman municipal governmental service provider as a municipal theocracy. Okay, and if you go look up Republican form of government, democracy, and theocracy, you'll find all sorts of great information describing the differences between them. Okay, so let's say it another way. Replace the word constitution with the word contract, then read it like this. The contract for the United States of America of 1787, the contract of the United States of America of 1789, and the contract of the United States of 1790. And hopefully this will make more sense. The for-hire military, the federal civil service, and the whole federal hierarchy are supposed to be here to provide us with 19 enumerated services as defined in those contracts. That's why we delegated enumerated powers to provide those services. However, it seems that they can't read very well because they have criminally breached, violated, and unilaterally added to the terms of our agreement. As their employer, how would you rate them?
I have a quick question. So if you go back to the previous slide,
Sure.
and they take their oaths, which one is it falling under?
Well, right now, they created a look-alike, sound-alike. So any constitution that has a 14th Amendment and moving forward with any other amendments is a false constitution because we never amended it. The American Congress, the Continental Congress, never made any amendments to their contracts. And so, what was that question again?
So
The
you
oath.
know how they take their oath
Oh, the
of
oath.
office
Yes.
to protect and serve.
So it's a false oath to a false constitution.
Can I say something? Because I'm reading Anna's, not these books, the other one, for the General Assemblies, and
Yep.
it's interesting that we're going through it in our assembly, and I just found out that under our Republican form of government, there are no oaths.
No.
Those oaths are for, like
The
she says,
crown.
for the corporation.
Yes.
So there's not even supposed to be an oath.
We do affirmations.
Yeah.
Oaths are for their jurisdiction, affirmations are for ours. So like any of our elected officers, we had to autograph an affirmation.
So having say a judge, claiming, using that oath as a defense mechanism is invalid because they're doing what they're told, right?
Well, technically, when they take an oath to uphold the Constitution, you have all those good amendments in there because they did add, because it was it looks just like our Constitution with them, but they added those other amendments that are null and void. So when they take an oath to uphold that, then that's what you hold them to.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's why I was asking which of the contracts are they actually abiding or being held to. But if it's all look-alike, then it's all applicable.
So whatever you have on your court documents, it'll have your name, the middle initial, and your last name, or your first and last name in all caps. Then you'll know which jurisdiction they're dealing in. So the all caps is the municipal government. The one with the middle initial is the British territorial. Okay?
Can I say something quick just for his benefit?
Yeah.
If you want to go to, anyone wants to go to 1215.org, that's Bill Thornton. He's 88 years old. He's just like Annabelle writes. He's been doing this forever. He's a constitutional counselor, not a lawyer. And it's gonna blow everybody's mind.
Yeah, and if you're, the thing is that when you're, if you're, I know you currently have already had a court case going on.
I got several.
Yeah. So in that case, we don't recommend, when you correct your status, we don't recommend people going into their courts because they're technically pulling in your dead entity, your legal fiction.
Right.
They're not pulling you, but they've latched on and forced you into that.
Right.
So this is why we don't go into their courts. But if you are already wrapped up in it and you're, you should go in there with the verbiage that you're here to represent this legal fiction and show them your birth certificate.
Right, and the way that he does it, he takes control of the court because it's not the judge's court. He puts the judge in his place. He's just a referee, and the court, he's the sovereign. We're all sovereigns, but he's the sovereign. He makes it known, so he kills that whole thing that you're coming in as the legal fiction or whatever. And he's had almost 100% success rate with his cases. But you have to go in as the claimant.
Start it that way.
Right. As the claimant. You can't go in as the defendant. That's one of their words. You have to go in as the
Yeah, and if they're trying to get you to plead,
Yep.
Guilty or not guilty, you're always innocent.
Right.
Right.
You don't play their game with their word. We call it their word salad.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did they get away with impersonating you? We started out with 3, but only our foreign federal subcontractors remained in operation after 1861. Why did only they remain? Because they got rid of the competition. They attacked, murdered, and disbanded members of our American federal subcontractor, the Federal Republic, and our federation after the so-called American Civil War, and kept them on the run for decades. For over 160 years, they have impersonated you and substituted themselves as your American government, and they've gotten away with it. Why? Because you weren't here, according to them, right? So think about this: during a civil war, they labeled our Federal Republic officials as rebels and went after them and started murdering them. And who would know the difference, because we were in the middle of a war, but thankfully there were some that escaped and got away, and we're on the run for many, many decades. All right, the big lie about emergency powers.
So,
according to them,
were those any of the founding fathers that were persecuted?
So this is going into 1860.
Okay.
So I think by then,
Okay.
it was probably their sons.
Okay.
The Belcher family, who is our summoning authority, their family was one of them because they were related to William the Conqueror, like lineage-wise. But one of their family members came here was William Belcher, and he was the one that gave us, sovereignty. And basically anybody that served in the army immediately had sovereignty, and then any man or woman that was born, any baby that was born on our land automatically gets sovereignty. And I also want to say that back in one of our documents that we start off with is the 1779 Naturalization Act. Okay, so back in 1779, if you can envision that we had many, many nationalities here, you know, Spaniards, Irishmen, Italians, Englishmen, you know, all these different nationalities. And so how are we to determine who was going to remain American and who was going to be British loyalists? We called them Tories for short. And there were a lot of people, you know, not a lot, but there were some that wanted to remain under the rule of the British king. And so we had to honor that. And, you know, this was all a part of the negotiations that took place. But the Americans wanted to be able to delineate who were American and who wanted to remain British. So Americans are allowed to own property. But if you're a US citizen, you're merely a resident. That's why everybody says, oh, are you a resident? Are you a resident of, you know, Marlton County, you know, or Marlton Township, right? They use terminology to trick people and don't really give us the full education on what these words actually mean. But anyway, moving on here. Every time either one of these colluding foreign subcontractors declares bankruptcy, they pass their debts onto you and your kids. Their national debt gets loaded off onto you even though you already paid it. Remember all those Federal Reserve notes that are IOUs? Every time you gave them goods and services in exchange for their IOUs, they got something for nothing. So of course their national debt grew exponentially because all the goods and services you contributed never got credited. The books were never balanced. They made it look like we owed this huge debt when in fact we already paid in goods and services. To add injury to insult, they charged us interest on this phony national debt without one whisper about our national credit. And the funny thing is that, you know, they tricked all of us because they converted us to be a US citizen. So now we have to operate off of the Americans' credit, right? Because as Americans, we are the priority creditors. We allowed our federal subcontractors to operate using our credit. So they were racking up the debt that was our credit, and then they turn around and they converted everybody into their citizenry to then make you apply for your credit with credit cards and then turn around and make you pay for it with interest on top of it.
That's the debtor.
Yeah.
And what about going to the ATM?
Right.
Deposit and you pay $3 got $4 to get the money out of the machine.
Yeah.
Every time you turn around, they're charging us fees, right?
Yeah, man.
All right, so we've got a final judgment in civil orders. Well, we're home, we're no longer absent, we're no longer in interregnum, as they told the world. This is what they told the world behind our backs, by the way. Hey, I don't know where the American government went, but we're running things for them. You know, they're missing in action. They're nowhere to be found. They're in interregnum. So our states are now in session, and we established claims under the phony government beginning in 1998, based on point, but what we learned in 2001 as a total shock.
I think it's this one on the screen.
Oh, yeah, that could be mine. When learning on his mother's deathbed that our very own James Clinton Belcher was the hereditary head of state for the Federation of States doing business as the United States of America, 1776, that news was overwhelming. We had to come to terms with the fact that in order to restore our rightful American government, the lineage of the members of the Federation of States have to muster the courage to come out of hiding. As the head of state on November 4th, 2015, oh, thank you, because it's hot here. James Clinton Belcher issued new sovereign letters patent and a joint declaration of sovereignty with the native nations of the Athabascans and Lakota Sioux. As the Federation of States regrouped, James Clinton Belcher, holding the only summoning authority as the head of state, called the states of the Union into session on March 19th, 2019, for the first time in over 150 years. And I believe New Jersey came online in 2020. So the return of your assets. We have a global family bank, okay, and they've been working hard and diligently to get this to get their bank up so that we can exit out of the matrix banks. The Federation of States doing business as the United States of America, unincorporated, has liened the phony government, the foreign United States governmental service corporations, for breach of contract and fraud on behalf of the American people. And by the way, I will say that since this slide presentation has been made, we actually won in court. We have chartered a new bilateral banking system and established a new trade and merchant banks to serve you and return assets and credit that you are owed. We monetized commercial liens and cashed in bonds owed to our government for the initial funding. And this is happening globally, so on all other countries as well. So what can you do? Well, we have reclaimed your American birthright inheritance, your identity, your credit, your gold, and your land assets for you. Your inheritance of rights and assets is now waiting for you to claim. So now, do you want to know what you can do about the 106-year-old criminal fraud scheme that has been perpetrated against you? Reclaim it. You've got to correct your political status in order to reclaim it. Okay, and nobody can force you into this. All we can do is to provide you with the necessary information. You have to go do your own due diligence, research what we're saying, and if you find this to be true for you and you want to correct your status, we're here when you're ready. Okay, but we want you to rise up and get out of bondage and declare your birthright as an American state national and claim your prosperity account. So after you correct your political status and done all the necessary steps, we then help you to set up your global family bank account so that when the bank comes online, you'll have your prepaid credit and we'll have American Federation dollars to use as our currency to pay for things. And as we are working on it right now, they're setting up all the different accounts, I'm losing the word for it, but it's the people that we're going to be buying things from. Vendors, thank you. Yes, that was the word I was looking for. They're making arrangements for all the vendors so that if you want to go to the grocery store, that you can use your prepaid credit to pay for your groceries. And so there's a lot of things that they've been ironing out, because when they bring it online, they want it to be bulletproof. It's blockchain, blue dot banking system, and so that's what you'll have waiting for you after you correct your status, because it's not being offered to U.S. citizens, obviously.
We actually have a friend in Puerto Rico, Giovanni Cortez. He already has money in the account. He's just waiting for, like you just said, all the other stuff
for everything to come online. Yeah. So now I'd like to, talk about what our American government on New Jersey has achieved in the last 7 years. Actually, it should say 6, because the New Jersey Assembly came online in 2020, even though we were summoned in 2019. As you can tell, it's taking a while to get the word out there, which is one of the reasons why we decided to do a county tour, going to each of our counties and giving this information to the people. So the Federation of States, this is what the Federation of States has done, so I'm getting ahead of myself. So they called our assemblies back into session. They entered the Western Territories by roll call vote into statehood. And I'll pause there for a second, because this was a document that I wasn't aware of. Has anybody heard of, besides all my people, has anybody heard of the Northwest Ordinance? No? Neither have I.
What I do know is that the Western states never became actual, because they went dormant and they just entered right into the corporation.
So we hired British territorial government, I don't know why, to basically organize the counties, and so set up all the borders and get everybody all situated and set up. After people have claimed their state, that this is the state that they were adopting, or this was the state that they were born on, they had to then go through the second process, which was to claim as this is your state, right? You're not stateless anymore. It's called statehood. So if you read the Northwest Ordinance, it'll explain the process in which our states were to come online and be recognized as one of the states of the union. Okay? And since, like what you said, our government went missing after or during the time frame of the Civil War, none of the Western states had then entered into statehood until after the Federation has called us back into session. And so by a roll call vote, we entered all the Western states into statehood. We created and published all notices on a public record. So when you are claiming something, you have to provide proof and evidence, and you have to make it a public record. So all these international public notices have been going on for many, many years. I think even before we were called into session, like I think starting back in 2015 is when she started to create her notices. We chartered a land recording office. So most of us know of like county recording offices, right? But we needed a land jurisdiction, land recording office. And so we have a digital land recording office. And so when you come on board, we have you create an account on there, and that's where all your documents get uploaded to make it a public record. There's other 2 ways that you could also make your political status correction a public notice. You could go to a county recording office that still actually allows Americans to record their documents, and as long as you have a receipt of it, and you could provide evidence that it was recorded on a de facto agency's recording office, we will accept that. Also, if you put it in the newspaper.
What newspaper?
Exactly. And be prepared to pay a lot of money for that. But you know, back in the day, that's what they used to do. Like when your baby was born, you used to do a birth announcement in the newspaper, and that was considered a public record that your baby was actually born and it exists, right? But anyway, we chartered a land recording office. We chartered the peacekeeping task force to help with peacekeeping efforts and duties. And this organization is rocking and rolling. We have a retired Army veteran that is leading the charge there, Joseph Hayes. He's the executive director for the peacekeeping task force, and he is doing amazing work. They have a podcast that just recently came out. I don't have that information in front of me, unfortunately. But if you go to pktfnews.org, you can connect with them there. And they're doing initiatives where they're trying to put training materials together and slide presentations and things of this nature to connect with the de facto law enforcement agencies to kind of educate them and inform them and let them know that we're here and that we're here to work with them. We're not here to work against them. You know, we'll be working with them in partnership. Okay. We also chartered a global family bank, like we just talked about. We also have continental marshals, and we've filled some of those roles just recently. We have designed and ordered and had them made their badges, and their badges are made of silver, and so we're excited about that because those continental marshals are the ones that help with border patrol and international jurisdiction matters. We passed laws protecting people from trespass, and if you go onto the TASA website, you'll be able to see some of those laws, and mostly it was laws protecting people from the egregious overreach when COVID was going on and they were trying to mandate shots and force people to wear masks and whatnot. We won in world court for claim on the American government. So Donald Trump went toe-to-toe trying to say that he was claiming a federal republic, and he lost in world court. And we won. We had the evidence. We had the proof. Yep.
What is the world court? Where is it? Is it in the, it's not the Hague, that's like.
I believe it's in Switzerland.
Oh, okay. So is it just called the world court?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there some place you can find that online?
It's in Brussels.
Like for reference for people that would want to see
Andrew?
that? Like that
Yeah,
ruling?
You can look it up online. Just Google the world.
And it's in international jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's in
Okay.
Brussels.
Yeah, just so, you know, so I can
Yeah.
check it
yeah,
out
so
later.
you can check it out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, share.
We reclaimed the national capital in Philadelphia and secured our post office. Okay, so it's quite obvious that Washington, D.C. was never our state capital because all of our founding documents were autographed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And that's where the founders met, that's where the conventions took place. And so, you know, when you start seeing this information, it becomes quite obvious that we have been lied to. Washington, D.C. was gifted to the federal government as a neutral place, 10 square miles, and it's neutral grounds for them to conduct business. But it was never, they were never supposed to come outside of those 10 square miles. All right. Our fiduciary is also assisting other countries to become sovereign nations with lawful governments like ours. I don't have Puerto Rico on here. I'm going to have to add that one because Javier and Catarina are from Puerto Rico, and they're trying to get their sovereign government up and going. And but we do have Australia. They actually call themselves Terra Australis to differentiate themselves from the corporation, and also Terra Canada, Terra meaning earth, right? The land.
If you add us onto there, you don't put Puerto Rico, but
you'll have to tell me, yes. All right, and so what has the New Jersey Assembly achieved in the past 4 years? Outreach and education to inform the public. That has been our biggest thing, is getting out into the public and being able to introduce ourselves and get this information out. We've created our state seals and our recording instruments. So all of our recording secretaries are notarial witnesses. And so all of your documents can be notarized by our recording secretaries, and we have the instruments to do that. We've created a website. We began sending notices to our employees, informing them of our returns. Some of them are listed on our website, so if you go to our website and click on the notices, and it's just the NewJerseyAssembly.com, you'll be able to see some of our notices. We noticed our sheriff. We noticed who, because we are exiting out of, and we've also sent notices to our governor when Phil Murphy was the governor, to tell him that to do something about the electrical grid when they were, electrical prices on our state has just skyrocketed, and people can't afford these prices. So we've sent a couple of notices. We will continue to do that. We've corrected the status of many Americans on New Jersey. The only problem that we have on New Jersey is that we'll correct people's statuses and then we never see them again. And so we'd like to get people more engaged in our government, because we can't do it without the people. It's the people that make the government. Right. We've provided and continue to provide training for common law education in courts. That's the other thing that we're working on this year, is to get our courts up and functioning. And so we've been doing a lot of training on that, and we're working on creating our documents. So we have a process down, and we're hoping within the next year we'll be able to have our courts up. And let's see. And some of the other things that we're working on this year, just to give you an idea, is obviously we're going to continue to do these county tours. And we would love for anybody to share our information. Share it far and wide. We have the Soup Mama here today. Thank you for being here. And she is going live on her platform. And so getting the word out to the people to let them know that this fraud has been perpetrated on them, and then getting them involved in the government. We have 4 pillars to our American structure government: the General Assembly, the Jural Assembly, which are the courts, the Militia Assembly, and that really deals not just with defense, but with emergency response and things of that nature. And then we also have our International Business Assembly, which deals with international affairs. And those people that serve on that pillar have to be state citizens. Okay? They can't hold any licenses. besides a driver's license, but if you are a licensed physician or a licensed realtor or something of that nature, you can't serve and be a state citizen. You have to drop your licenses if you want to serve in the International Business Assembly or be an elected official, because otherwise it would be a conflict of interest. Anybody else from our assembly that has anything you want to contribute as far as what we're working on? If you could think of, is there something I didn't cover? It's a lot of work, but we do it because it's a love for country, honestly. It's a love for God and country. And there was a reason why our founders put God first, country second, and family third. You would think that you would have put your family first or after God, right? But no, they put their country first, because if the country went to the shitter, it wouldn't matter what you were doing for your family, right? So, we put God and country first. And so, I traveled here over 2 hours away to get here. We have other assembly members that traveled far as well to get here. And we have meetings all throughout the week. In fact, on Monday, we have an outreach committee meeting. We do international meetings, so we get to meet with other states as well and collaborate efforts and talk to each other about what's working on their state and, to help each other. We've got podcasts. We have the YouTube channel that we've created to provide content for education purposes. We have a Facebook channel. We have a Telegram channel. So we're really working to get the word out there.
Are they all listed under the New Jersey Assembly?
Yes, if you go to our website.
Unincorporated or just the New Jersey Assembly?
The NewJerseyAssembly.com is our website, and you can get to our Facebook page and our Telegram page from there.
Okay, thank you.
And our YouTube.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, so that concludes my presentation for today. We do have 4 QR codes up here. The first one to the left in red is to our main website. It's the international website. We call it TASA. TASA stands for the American State Assemblies, and then it's .americanstatenationals.org. There's a wealth of information on there. It can be a bit overwhelming, but take your time with it. And then we have claimyourinheritance.info as the second QR code. That has a lot of detailed research, so if you want to find a lot of stuff on there is listed. And then we've got our, I gotta change that, it's just the NewJerseyAssembly.com. And then we have a link tree, so if you scan that link tree, that'll also take you to other resources. Okay? And I'm gonna open it up for Q&A right now. I know you guys have questions along the way, and but words, maybe.
I'm going to can that same roll call voting for Puerto Rico.
Roll call vote, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the other minute. I'd like to get our elections in place. My goal, and I don't know how all the rest of the assembly members feel. I'm sure they won it yesterday, but we're going to hold our elections by the end of the year, going into the new year. That's going to require all people stand up and volunteer into these positions. We can then hold a formal election. Andrew, go ahead.
Daniel, the next to last slide, you said we had to claim our capital in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
We have payments that reclaimed it.
I would say that's for Anna. If she hasn't it already on the TASA website, I would ask her directly.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
About.
Sorry, remind me, what is your name besides?
So my name is actually
Cherie. Right, Cherie.
And how many states are on board now that have functioning all
50 states
and all positions almost filled now? I think
I
they were
believe
close.
it's like a handful of states that are seated.
Okay, and then so there's just a few just need a few seats yet then.
Pretty much, yeah. are coming along a little bit more slower than others.
And I'm assuming links to get to like a national or national would be a website as well, so you could see the other states, like the other assemblies.
Yeah, so if you
So
go
you
to
can
the
get to them if you're
TASA,
not from here. Is what I'm saying.
absolutely. So that's a great question. So if you go to the TASA website, that's the red QR code, and you go to the 50 states,
Okay.
click on that, and it'll show all the 50 states, and you just click on yours. And some of the states have the direct link to get in touch with their assembly.
Okay.
Maybe it'll take you to the website, and some will just have an intake to fill out to get with your coordinator on your state.
Cool.
Yeah. And we have one of our coordinators, Priscilla. Can you just raise your hand? She's one of our coordinators on our state.
I have another question. What are the steps for that Northwest ordinance?
That is a good question. I'm not for certain all the proper steps, but I know that the British Territorial was supposed to be, organizing it, and you had to get there and then get, roll call vote into, and I would venture to guess that if you're, and I know that there's South Africa and there's other countries that are also asking these questions. There is an international call. I really don't know. You would probably have to, if you get in touch with me, I'll try to get you in touch with the right.
Okay.
Yeah, we could talk about that after and try to figure it out.
I think that whatever they did with the West Ordinance was to bring the western states into the union.
Yeah.
Would apply to us too, but I want to know what the steps are.
Yeah.
So if you have to have a certain amount of people from the population that.
Yeah,
agree-
that you do, but I don't know how many. Honestly, I think we just had to have 2 people on our state in order to be called back into session and start the process.
We have 25, so.
Wow, okay, well that's great. That's really great.
Yep.
Yes,
So I was gonna ask about the election process, so you mentioned earlier that you would have to forego whatever your licensure you might have had.
Yeah.
Is that inclusive of like your notarial certificate for the state?
I don't think so. If you're a notary, no, I don't think so.
How does it work if you were born in New Jersey but subsequently live in another state?
You would just go, so I was living on New Jersey when I corrected my status. I'm a Connecticuter, so I had to correct my status through the New Jersey Assembly.
Okay, so.
But on your paperwork, it'll show like if you were born a Pennsylvanian, or if you were a New Jerseyan but you live in Pennsylvania, then on all your documents it'll say you're a New Jerseyan.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't matter as long as you claim that.
Yeah,
where you
and
were born.
we have certain policies or rules, if you would, when, like, if I were to correct my status and I would have moved to another state, I'd have to be there a year and a day before I could get into an elected position.
Oh.
They invite people or have any kind of vote, because if you can imagine, we have gotten infiltrated, and there are people that are jumping from state to state trying to, infiltrate other state assemblies and do different things. And so we have to put protections in place in order to prevent those kind of things from happening. We require that you are there a year and a day before you can vote on any assembly. You're invited to attend the assembly meetings. You just can't vote for a year and a day. Really.
So if you were born in New Jersey, but 20 years living.
Yeah, that's fine.
Would you be a Pennsylvanian? No, you're always the state you're born.
We're always going to be, like, nationality is we're born, living in a state, and you're a Pennsylvanian working for the assembly.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And the process is for example, I was born in, that would be.
Well, so to correct your status, you would show your natural paperwork, and you would dial the state and say if it was New Jersey because you were many years. You would adopt New Jersey as your state, and then you'd have to where you were on, and then come into New Jersey. Yeah, awesome. And also for any undocumented immigrants who've been living here for 7 years or more, if they've been living here lawfully, they haven't accepted any federal assistance, and they've been here, and they have 2 with them years. They have to be 21 years or older, and they have to be years or more. Also, can correct and become awesome. They too would have to adopt a state and that sort of thing. But we have witness testimony to basically be our backup to say that you are who you say you are.
And once you correct yourself, are there any because lawyers take their first oath is to the bar, not to this country or to the client.
Right.
So if you had some issue you talk to for, like, to understand your jurisdiction and how to operate.
1215.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and just study and read. Anna has put out so many articles. That has over 5,700 articles.
Yeah.
You could go into the search engine and do common law or whatever keyword you're looking to learn about, and it'll come with a ton of articles that you could read through. It does require doing this. Does require a lot of study.
right, and the law of equity, like.
Well, that's a different.
Yeah.
Equity law is completely different. It's not the
Is
same
that for
as
the
common law.
corporation?
Equity law is dealing with corporation. Yeah. You have a question? What's your name? Russell.
I forgot, honestly.
That's okay. Back to the election process, because I'm talking, asking. The election process for us is we would have to put some kind of process, whether that be ballots, and we to county and district, or actually Peter's have many more that could be in each of the counties during an election, get the ballot, and then we would have election that would, along with the martial arts, rolling secure our document, and he would be the votes. Whoever wins gets and published in the newspaper. As we publish, 30 days, I'm not. It's hard, and once newspaper, then you're or
Rasul, man. All right, so
Rasul.
Yeah.
Rasul.
So what since we correct, do we still use New Jersey state ID, or do we have a new ID?
Yeah, there's a credential card that we have.
I don't even have to use my state ID anymore.
So when you use your state ID, what do you use it for?
Like if I'm going to like the DMV or.
So when you correct your status, we advise people to still keep their license plates because the cops are not educated enough and they will harass you. And if you're not prepared to deal with that, it just becomes a headache. And as we go along and as we start educating law enforcement, we'll get there. But you could on the license write retired and not for hire, in marker, or you want to put, some kind of a sticker on the back. Because you can use your ID for identification purposes, your driver's license, say, for instance. We also have our passports. We have a passport ID and our passports, and we've done that through the American State Nationals process. That's also considered